All right, hello everybody. How are we doing today? Yeah, good. Everyone's up and at 'em. Good to see it. At least you're all here. So excited to get to share this presentation with you today. My name is Brandon Wenning, and I am a Deputy Division Director for the VATSIM United States Division. And I also do some work in our pilot training department for the whole VATSIM network. So I want to get a quick feel of the room, see what our audience is all about today. So let's see, by a show of hands, who has never heard of VATSIM before? Never heard of it before. Yeah, thanks guys. Okay, we got a couple. How about some folks who have heard of VATSIM before, but you've never really taken the plunge? Yeah, a lot more hands. That's what I thought we'd see. That's perfect. And now to give you all some comfort, let's see who is currently a VATSIM member in the room. Perfect, love to see it. So we've got everyone at least raise their hand. Thanks for participating. But here's the last question. Who in here loves aviation? Yeah, that's our common ground. I love it. So I want to give you a brief introduction about me and my history in aviation on the network before we dive into what VATSIM is all about. So I've been a member of VATSIM for about 8 years now, and I have been a staff volunteer for over 7 years. I have volunteered all across the nation in a variety of different locations, such as our Houston Arctic, Fort Worth, Denver, and most recently at the VAT USA division level. And I'll get into more about what all that means in a bit, so don't worry if you don't get it now. My current, in the real world, VATSIM had a huge impact on me, and it actually drove me to get my private pilot license, and a couple years ago even completed my instrument rating. I am really passionate about teaching and educating everybody in the aviation space. It's had a huge impact on my life. I'm big on giving back. That's why I'm up here today. That's why we're all here. So I'm very interested in currently in the pursuit to get my CFI, Certified Flight Instructor license. Born and raised a Hoosier, I currently live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I've been a lifelong musician. That's the fun fact for y'all. Couple of pictures on the screen to actually show some of the adventures. Just recently went with one of my friends, Harry, to Sporties, and a couple of very cool photos. Life in the air is just better, right? We all know that, whether it's on the sim or in real world. And it's just had, again, a huge impact on my life. You know, done a lot of cross countries, a lot of cool flying adventures. But one that really sticks out to me that I want to kind of share with y'all is the very first flight I took, my discovery flight. I asked my flight instructor if I could take the radios. And he looked at me like I was nuts. He was like, "What are you talking about? You're gonna get us a phone number. This is gonna go terribly." And I had been on VATSIM for many, many years at that point. And I was air traffic controller, I was a pilot, I knew what I was talking about. And because of the comfort level of me talking with real people on the other line in a very safe environment that VATSIM is, I was able to surprise my flight instructor to the point where he thought the next step was gonna be a simulated engine out. So discovery flight was very interesting. You know, again, real world and VATSIM can tie together. So no matter what your interest is in here, sitting in the room, whether you just are a simulator pilot, maybe you just worry about, you know, real world aviation and you're getting into simulation, VATSIM has it all. So we're gonna get into it. The session objectives here, very plain and simple. I wanted to lay this out for you so you don't get lost and you kind of know where we're going. I want to tell you all about what VATSIM is, who makes up VATSIM, which is everybody in the room, whether you think or not. We're going to elaborate on the benefits and highlight basically what you're going to get out of this, how you can tailor your experience on our network, because there's so much to do. And then finally, we'll present you with the resources for you to leave this session today and become a VATSIM member, feel confident about where you want to go and what you want your adventure to look like. So I would like to first start off with a 5-minute video that perfectly explains what VATSIM is in the most cinematic way possible.
The Virtual Air Traffic Simulation Network, VATSIM, is the free international online network and community where flight simulator enthusiasts from all over the world can fly together and receive live air traffic control services from virtual air traffic controllers. For 2 decades, VATSIM has been the place to go for anyone that likes to add an additional level of realism and professionalism to their flight simulation experience. Let's take a look at what VATSIM is all about and how it will bring your flying experience to a new level.
Airbus 115, runway 34 right, clear for takeoff, wind variable at 6. Runway 34 right, clear for takeoff, Airbus 115.
Microsoft Flight Simulator combined with VATSIM offers the perfect environment to get used to talking on your airplane's radio and to stay sharp and focused while flying a plane.
Seattle departure, Cessna 598 Mike Tango is 1 mile south of Renton Airport, 2,500. Cessna 172, request flight following to Painfield.
On the VATSIM network, air traffic control services for your flight are provided by trained virtual air traffic controllers. The virtual skies are divided into many virtual area control centers. These are often run by local communities that are part of the VATSIM network and that take care of the airspace above their home country. This means you'll be talking to people from all over the world. Americans when flying over the US, Brits over the UK, and Germans over Germany. And don't worry, they all speak English wherever you fly.
Alpine 317, wind 330 degrees, 5 knots, runway 26 right, clear to land. Iberia 31 Bravo Hotel identified, descend to flight level 100.
On VATSIM, there are many events organized across the globe every week. As a pilot, you can experience the differences in air traffic control procedures when flying from Europe to America.
KLM 602, Los Angeles ground, runway 25 right, taxi via Kilo Bravo.
Or join as we simulate real-life operations at one of our major airports. As you can imagine, it can get quite busy.
Speedbird 113, Heathrow delivery, hello, cleared to New York, JFK by Compton and flight planned route. Alitalia 291, then 25 7 knots, I'm at 25 center, cleared for takeoff.
VATSIM provides many free training opportunities for Microsoft Flight Simulator users through our various pilot training programs, including personal in-airplane and classroom-based instruction from real people through authorized training organizations. From learning the basics of flying in a small propeller aircraft all the way up to managing a complex airliner. Through the various VACCs that are part of the VATSIM network, you can receive training to become a virtual air traffic controller and manage the virtual skies on VATSIM.
American 504, select to Rapid.
Connecting to VATSIM is easy. Simply decide where you want to fly, load at a parking position, open the VATSIM Pilot Client vPilot for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and enter your credentials. Hit connect, enter a call sign and the aircraft type you're flying, and you are ready to interact with air traffic controllers and fellow simulator pilots all over the world.
Schiphol delivery, Papa Del Juliet Victor Golf radio check.
VATSIM provides air traffic control services using a method called top-down air traffic control. Our volunteer air traffic controllers will provide all ATC services at airports and positions that would fall vertically below them in the real world. Top-down air traffic control on VATSIM allows our volunteer air traffic controllers to maximize the amount of pilots they interact with and allows pilots to experience full immersion with ATC at times when not every position is staffed by an individual air traffic controller.
Southwest 223, Chicago departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 15,000.
Emirates 7, good morning. Dubai departure, identify. Climb flight level 150.
Live air traffic control services from real-world professionals and simulation enthusiasts alike, combined with seeing other pilots connected to the VATSIM network, creates the most realistic virtual environment that simply cannot be replicated offline. VATSIM offers its members a wealth of knowledge and connections. Our members range from real-world pilots, air traffic controllers, and aviation professionals to hobbyists desiring greater immersion in virtual aviation. VATSIM members are able to harness all this experience to increase their own knowledge and enjoyment in the hobby. So if you're ready to step up your game and learn more about aviation and flying with air traffic control, don't hesitate any longer. Create your free account at vatsim.net today.
Boeing 31 Heavy, Kennedy Tower, runway 31 left, clear to land.
Yeah, Hard to follow up that because my voice doesn't have a dramatic background noise behind it now, but that video is just a really quick introduction as to what you actually see as the pilot, what you get to experience on the network, and that there's so many possibilities. So I know that was just a 5-minute video, that's a preview. Let's dive into it, let's talk a little bit about this more. And I do want to preface this that we will be taking questions at the end, and we also have a booth that we'd love for you to come and join us at afterwards if you have follow-up questions. So basically, let's go over what is VATSIM. So the acronym really stands for the Virtual Air Traffic Simulation Network. And what our goal is to really simulate the real-world conditions for our virtual pilots and controllers both to enjoy. This is not just a place where you're going around and you're just flying all willy-nilly. We're actually trying to produce the real-world environment, and we do a really good job of that, especially with our controllers who are getting trained under the same rules, and you'll hear the same phraseology that you would expect to hear if you were actually in the real world flying right now. This community is for aviation enthusiasts, to expand their flight sim experience, and it's made up of all types of people. We have people who are real world controllers, we have airline pilots, general aviation enthusiasts, flight instructors, and just our favorite, the sim enthusiast like everyone here. We are a learning environment at its core, okay? We want to make sure that members feel that they get something out of this. You are not expected to be a professional before you join VATSIM. That is myth number one that we're breaking today. The biggest thing that we've heard even yesterday as we're going through the booth is, I've heard of VATSIM before and I don't feel like I'm prepared or I don't feel confident enough. I fly great, I know how to fly my airplane, I've flown in my simulator for years, but I don't really feel confident in talking. The only thing that you're gonna do in that regard is you gotta practice. You gotta get on, you gotta try, okay? The basics of what you need to do on VATSIM, you should know how to fly a heading, fly your altitudes, maintain control of your aircraft, and be able to understand what people are saying when they're talking to you on the radio. But if you're worried about flubbing up one little word like the or mixing up a letter, don't worry about it. Get on, practice, you will get better. It's a learning environment. This is also a great opportunity to network with those professionals that I spoke on earlier. We have a ton of communities that we're gonna dive into again of all the opportunities that this network provides everyone. Finally, I think this goes really big. It's creating lifelong friends who share the same passion as you. I've made hundreds and hundreds of friends on this network because everyone is loving aviation, everyone tries to be better. You can get into groups that you will have lifelong friends, absolutely. So it is really not a game, so to speak. Again, it is that simulation. You are seeing other real aircraft in your flight sim. So as the video displayed, you're gonna download this client and you're going to now not see AI. It's not gonna be the Microsoft Flight Simulator automatic ATC. It's real people like myself and the other controllers who are gonna be controlling you just as if real world people were doing it in the actual real thing. So I do want to move on and show you just a little bit about how many people we have. In the entire network, we have 174,000 active members across the entire world. And that's people who have used the network in the last 60 days. In our Americas region, which is basically the western half here, we have about 64,800. And for our specific division, which is just the United States here, we have 1,900 active controllers. And you can see kind of the graph on the right side of the screen. That's how the breakdown goes. VATSIM network as a whole, then we get into a region, which is a part of the world. We have 3 different ones. And with inside that, we get into divisions, which are typically our countries. Now, this is a quick graph that I wanted to show you about the traffic count. And as you can see, we have been very, very popular with regularly over 20,000 operations per week. And those are year over year estimates. You can see that we had the busiest month actually in VAT USA history earlier this year in January. which was absolutely insane. Our events, our pilots were really getting into it and enjoying, and we're super happy about that because it means we're growing as a network and we're getting to more people. Obviously, in our summertime, it's nice outside. People like to go out more. So there is, you can see typical routine drops. But let's get into VAT USA, right? So there's two sides to the network, and there's a lot more, but pilots and controllers. You don't have to be exclusively one. I regularly fly on the network, and I enjoy controlling as well. But a breakdown for those who are not familiar with the United States airspace, we have 22 different centers. And this is big for us because that's how we put our rosters together. We separate our members based by the ARTCC or our centers. So when you join VATSIM, you get to go and be a part of one of these Arctics, and you specialize in this area. And you become a ground controller, and then a tower controller, an approach and center, and you keep working your way up, just like the video said earlier. So it's a great opportunity for you to get familiar as both a pilot. If you like a particular airspace, you'll be hearing from the same air traffic controllers working that airspace. If you're interested in learning how to control, you also don't have to worry about controlling the entire United States all at once. So we do have a map available, and this was taken just 1 hour ago here, of what we have up right now. So as you can see, we have plenty of our eastern coast in the United States up right now. A lot of people flying, as you can see all the planes. And take note of some of the airports have little designations on them, such as like the G, the T, and the A, and that's telling you what air traffic control is online right now. One of the trickier things, that's not too tricky when you think about it, is who do I contact when I come up in the sim, right? You're popping up in San Francisco and you want to take a long haul all the way out to New York. Who do you call? Well, right now, we look for the San Francisco airport, and it looks like there's nothing online. There's no designation of ATC at that airport. And then you keep zooming out, right? There was no ground, there's no tower, there's no approach, there's no center. So you would just work on the actual designated CTAF frequency, and you would be announcing your intentions, however weird it is to be announcing on CTAF at a Class Bravo airport, for other pilots who are flying on VATSIM to know what you're doing. However, if we were to have been taking off out of Seattle right now, you would have gone on to Seattle Center, who will be providing your top-down services all the way for taxi. So as weird as it might be, you do call Seattle Center for ground, for your taxi, for takeoff, for departure, and all the way, they'll take you all the way until the edge of their airspace. So we do have that map available. It's displayed on our website. It's also at our booth. So if you're looking more for those resources, please come visit us after. So now we know what VATSIM is. What's the point, right? What are we doing here? Why should I join? What do we have to offer? And thank you, Jared. That was a great question for me. The VATSIM is not a product. It is truly the epicenter of flight sim because everything here can be brought into the network. Which flight sim you use is up to you. We don't care if you're using Microsoft Flight Simulator, X-Plane, or any of the others. We don't care what plane you're flying. That's for you to choose. That's what makes this community great, is you get to custom make your experience, and then you get to share it with everybody around you. So we have unique opportunities such as participating in events, becoming air traffic control, utilizing that we're a complete tech-based platform and we don't have real-world limitations. We have educational programs such as authorized training organizations where if you want to learn more about being a pilot, if you want to learn how to fly that new aircraft and your simulator, or you want to keep your real-world studies going on the network, we have all of those things. We also have virtual airlines for those of you who are really interested in going, oh man, I would love to fly like Delta with a bunch of friends. We have that. We also have Southwest Virtual is here today, and they would love to talk to you about that as well. Finally, we have virtual military and special operations. Who in here has flown a military aircraft in their sim? Couple folks? It's pretty cool, I've got to say. Getting to learn from people who are very educational on the matter, that's even cooler. So again, let's go into a couple of these things. What is an event? What is an event? An event, we have a couple of the banners displayed right here, and that means that it's essentially a big party, all right? So everybody when you're flying and you're looking on a Friday night or even a Sunday morning, you're saying, gosh, where is the coverage? I would love to talk to some other planes, love to be around other people, and I wanna feel what it's like to do ATC. You can find all the listed events on both the VATSIM calendar and the VATUSA calendar if you're looking specifically for United States. And that's gonna list banners and event details such as airports that are being flown into. Every Friday night, we have an event called the Friday Night Ops. It's a long-standing tradition in VATUSA. So if you're ever looking for an event, every Friday we have something in the United States. And it's all different. So you look at the banners and you said, I'm gonna fly from Detroit to Las Vegas tonight because I want a long haul and Las Vegas is having an event. So a couple banners, again, all published on our website. And I wanna show you guys a little bit from the ATC perspective. It's just a 30-second clip here about what happens when we have event level traffic on VATSIM. Now again, this is Memphis approach about 4 weeks ago in a Friday night event. And we have a lot of traffic on VATSIM. So Friday Night Ops is probably not the best idea for new pilots to go right into, as if you're not comfortable with the network or not comfortable with your skills, radio skills or flying skills yet. I would not suggest going into these because we have a lot of people. But we do control every day. Again, that map shows you what we have going on and great opportunities for you to learn and grow in whatever you're looking for. So let's talk about some of those educational opportunities here. So for a great pilot, you never stop learning, right? We've heard that before. It's on a lot of different YouTube pages and educational books. And our version of that is different flying clubs, different programs. So feel free to take some pictures of this because these are some great organizations. The Virtual USA Flying Club is essentially a general aviation flying club devised of our members. They have, I think it's over 100, 150 plus. It's even greater. 600, thank you, yeah. So it's a very big group, lots of helpful people who are both real-world CFIs and longtime general aviation enthusiasts. We have the Pilot Club, who's here today, and they'd love to talk to you about their educational programs and helping you learn how to fly on the sim, helping you learn how to be a private pilot, learning all of these cool operations. And then the last one I want to highlight for the educational opportunities there, Boston Virtual Arctic Wings. This is a self-paced course that you get to fly all around the New England area. And basically, it's kind of like a challenge. You have to complete different flights with ATC online and continue learning and growing so you become more comfortable with both your aircraft and flying on VATSIM. So a lot of things that are at your disposal to help you ease that transition into VATSIM. Again, we also have the Southwest Virtual Airline displayed here, and they are over at their table right across from the VATSIM booth. And that is if you're interested in learning about ACARs and learning about how actual, an airline operations work, that's simulated in here. Lots of VAs. I think we have over 75 plus active VATSIM VAs, so a lot of options for you. And finally, again, those special operations, those military, we have the Virtual United States Air Force for those who enjoy getting in their F-22 in the sim and flying around. We do actually have integration with them and a relationship through ATC so that you can even do some intercepts and some actual military operations live on the network in our airspace. And we treat it just as the real world would do. So a unique opportunity nonetheless. We also have educational opportunities through the VATSIM and the VATUSA division and network level. We have lots of pilot resources available for you to learn how to fly in our airspace. Maybe who in here has flown into DC, the DC area in the sim? Anybody? Yeah. You remember those really weird words like SIFRA and freeze? Yeah, that's simulated on the network now, and some pilots may not be familiar with how that actually works. It might have been one of those things that you're like, I'll just fly in anyway, it's just me. But now it's not just you, and you get to learn how that actually works in the real world, and we simulate that on the network. Again, another realism level that we're happy to provide. We also have some cool social media aspects. The VAT USA team, and in partnership with Citation Max and Rob Shearman, Slant Alpha Adventures, has provided a flight across America where we are putting a video series together to help you, the brand new VATSIM member, or the new simmer, or the experienced simmer, to see what a flight on VATSIM actually looks like. It goes from Denver to Dallas Love. It's not too long, but it's devised in the manner that you can go along through it, watching in about 5 or 7 minute clips, so you can understand VATSIM on the ground, taking off, departure, cruise. What do I need to learn? What do I need to worry about? So stay tuned. Our first video just dropped yesterday of a 6-video series, so we're super excited to be releasing that. Stay tuned for it. Now let's talk about getting into the world of air traffic control. So becoming an ATC, you have to first figure out, where do you want to go? So this, because we're VAT USA and we're in the United States, I'm using that as our example. Do know this happens all over the world. You can control anywhere you want. So becoming an air traffic controller, if you've walked past our booth, we were encouraging those folks to stop and ask our controllers, how's it going? Any weird questions? If anybody's been on VATSIM before and you've gotten a weird vector or something was just like, I don't understand what is going on, 2 things. Ask a controller and learn about it, or become a controller and you'll learn, I promise. The VAT USA Academy is basically the place that you start. We want to give you guys the foundation of being a controller, learning on the other side of the mic what you have, different considerations. The language is still the same, right? Craft is still a craft clearance, except we're giving it and you're receiving it. The VAT USA Academy prepares you for that, and it's a self-paced learning course. At the end of that, you take a quiz. And after you pass that quiz, you will then select one of those 22 facilities I talked about earlier, Anchorage, Honolulu, Denver, Houston, wherever you want to control, that's where you start. And then you do your practical training. You'll work with instructors and mentors like myself and others who will be teaching you how to actually control in the manner that is prescribed per the real world FAA. So it's a long road, it's a hard road, but it's a rewarding one. I remember when I got my S1, it was, oh my gosh, I was so scared. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing and this is crazy. And the instructor said, you got it, don't worry. Remember, it's just fake planes. But it was a cool opportunity because it was my first time out of the school setting where it was like someone was like, here are the keys to the car, like go for it and see. And that level like pushed me to keep going and going and going, and now somehow I'm standing up here talking to y'all. So it's a great opportunity if you're wanting something new. And again, you don't just have to be a pilot. You don't just have to be a controller. VATSIM has both. Please do both. If you're considering it, try it out. If you don't like it, you don't have to continue with it. Give it a shot. Now, the other way you can impact on the network is I love to volunteer and I love to give back, and that's what I have been doing for 7 years. Like I mentioned earlier, I was a mentor, I was an instructor. I've worked on our event staff. I've worked in our training, I've worked on administration, and now my job puts me directly in charge of all 22 facilities in the United States. So there's a lot of different opportunities that you have to give back. Again, Arctic Division Network staff, training, mentor, traffic management. Just a real quick show of hands again, VATSIM pilots currently who have flown into one of our events. Flown into an event, yeah. Has it ever been crazy and you've gotten like a ground stop or a delay where they said, yeah, you're not gonna take off for an hour and a half? Yeah, we have to make sure that our airspace is secure and safe as well, because we're not in the business of just saying, whatever, just go for it. Who cares? We want to have that realism factor. So sometimes when things get really, really busy, we have to zoom out, look at the entire United States, much as the FAA does, and we have to say, well, DC, we might have to give you a little bit of a ground stop to get into New York. It's really busy right now. Things like that. So again, getting on the ATC side, you'll start to see why some of the things happen. As a pilot, I'd be frustrated if I was sitting there for an hour and a half. But because I understand why it's happening, I was like, okay, I'll just disconnect and be back in an hour. So we also have a lot of other opportunities. If anybody's interested in joining like social media team, we have a lot of opportunities. We partner with streamers. We partner with our other media partners here, graphic designers, content creators. We're always looking for opportunities to continue spreading the love for aviation and the opportunity to continue learning always. Finally, we're a tech platform. If you're a computer programmer, software engineer, you know anything about tech, we're always looking for people to help out. That's yet another way that you can contribute, because I guarantee you the VATSIM network has a vast impact on new young children who are interested in getting into careers in aviation, and also the more experienced folks who are looking to continue their journey after their real world journey has ended on that. It's a great opportunity, and I tell you, it's just one that you want to pursue. I do want to give some tips and tricks, finally, to kind of bestow some knowledge upon you of what I've found over the 8 years of being a member and 7 as a staff. Be concise on the radio and know when to speak. So if you're just tuning into a frequency and you start talking right away, you may not know if someone else was talking before. You may not have gotten if they were responding, etc. Give it a couple seconds, make sure you're on the right frequency, and then ring up, and you don't have to be long-winded. It's okay to pause and think before you hit the button, right? American 248, flight level 350, come on, let's go, right? We gotta push traffic, we gotta go. So if you just thought about it, American 248, flight level 350 over Wichita. Boom, that's all I needed. Use realistic call signs, right? This is a simulation. You guys have the opportunity. There's no penalty for saying you're Delta 1492 on the network, okay? Be Delta 1492 for the day. And if you do use a unique call sign, that's not something that's really used in the real world. When you file your flight plan on VATSIM, there's a remarks section there. Pop your call sign in there. Call sign Blue Streak, call sign whatever, right? Double check your routes for accuracy. Now this is huge, okay? We see this a lot, more than ever. There are lots of YouTube videos out there and other manuals that say, yeah, you don't need those discontinuities. You can just X those out and you can go direct the final approach fix. No, especially in an event, that will get you in trouble. So double check your routes. Make sure it is what you filed. Make sure you have everything on board. Make sure your altitudes are in check, your crossing restrictions. Anybody flown out of Denver before in the sim? Anybody? Yeah? Okay. So anybody who's flown out of Denver knows that there's a 10,000 foot ceiling on your initial climb. And for people who break through that, we have arrivals that come directly over on the downwind at 11. It makes controllers really happy when those get really close together, okay? So make sure to also be flexible on your runway assignments. Another thing that I've heard is I had a pilot once who called me. I was working Fort Worth, and they asked me what their runway was going to be in LA. And I was like, I don't even know what LA is landing. I can't even tell you what runway it would be. So it's just important to know that sometimes the runways will change. We as air traffic control really want to get your request through. We'll do everything we can to make sure that if you've got a request, if you've got a special approach, if you've got a different procedure, we try to make that happen, but ultimately sometimes we can't make it happen. But just know we're trying, right? And so I'll commonly get, I'm set up for ILS 35 left, I can't take ILS 35 right. So I'll do everything I can to get that guy on the 35 left. And what would happen if I can't is I would say, can you take 35 right? Otherwise I'm gonna have to spin you around or do some other vectoring. And that's just the being flexible part, right? Like I will do whatever I can to make your experience better, but sometimes you're gonna have to make a decision on what you want. So be prepared, be flexible. Finally, ask questions. Don't bite off more than you can chew and don't feel like you're alone, right? The title of this presentation was VATSIM, You're Never Alone, because you see all the communities, all the opportunities that you have on our network, that there's no way that if you get involved and are enjoying this and are actively participating, that you won't have a buddy, you won't have an instructor, you won't have somebody that you can go, I'm confused, how do I do this? We have 174,000 members. Like I said, I guarantee you someone can answer your question. So don't feel like you have to know it all. Ask those questions. And best of all, if you're flying into airspace and you're with a controller and you're a little nervous about the arrival, or you have a question and you don't feel like you want to ring up and the push to talk and talk over voice, VATSIM has the ability for you to direct message other pilots and other air traffic controllers directly through our client, so you can ask those questions. And I, as an air traffic controller, can answer that when I have time and I'm not holding the push to talk button down, and help you out, okay? So that's a great feature as well. Feel like you're empowered to ask those questions. Because again, we want you to be successful. I hope so do you. So finally, I just wanted to give another big plug for our VATSIM booth over there. We have a great organization. We have great people. We have people who have dedicated years and years and years to this, who just absolutely love the community and keep coming back. This is something that you guys want to be a part of because, again, there are so many opportunities. If you're a real-world student pilot right now and you're worried about radios, and maybe you're like, oh, well, the flight sim isn't going to have me feel what it's like to be in the seat in a steep turn. Yes, that's true, right? But what if you're worried about the radios? What if you're worried about procedures? If you're in IFR training right now, this is a great opportunity. It's not just simulation. This has real-world impacts. But this has the ability for just the casual streamer. It should not be scary for you. The network covers those all. So I want to close with thanking you all for being here. We are just people at VATSIM, right? Controllers can kind of get that like scary, I don't want to make them mad kind of thing, but we're just people. We want to get you to where you're going. Ask us questions. Be prepared. And again, the most important part is have fun and keep learning. So I want to thank you all. I want to ask for questions. There's 2 microphones up here. I'm sure we've got some. We've got about 8 minutes for Q&A here. So if you've got questions, feel free to just pop up to the mic. But other than that, thank you all so much.
I've got a quick question. I've been on VATSIM for 6 months. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's taken my level of realism way up. But in the exhibit booth, I visited a couple of displays where they were trying to sell AI-generated ATC, and I'm wondering if there's an opportunity with VATSIM working with some of these companies, because as you know, sometimes you can take off from an airport with ATC coverage. By the time you get to your destination, there's no coverage, and it tends to be a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's crazy how like artificial intelligence has gotten into our world and all over the place. We don't currently have a plan set forth. That's something that we could bring back to the VATSIM team. Like, I'm not aware of any plans that I can currently say right now, but there are definitely opportunities and different avenues which you can take when you're doing flight sim. Ours, we're all about the real people getting that real experience right now. So when you're getting online, it's not AI traffic, it's not AI controllers. You're talking with real people, and that's just the model that we sell. Yes, sir.
Hi, I've got a couple of questions actually.
Yeah, sure.
So I've been VATSIM for a while. It's great, but very nerve-wracking when you start. And I've learned loads from a lot of the controllers, really, really helpful. But there's a tendency for them to talk really, really quick. And when you're trying to write everything down, because for some reason, when you're on VATSIM, you can't remember anything anybody says. When there's a lot of instructions, you can't write it down quick enough.
Yeah.
And bizarrely, I can understand and remember other people's instructions, but never my own, which is a bit of a snag. But I also wondered if, very similar to what you were just saying in the last question actually, is, well, I'll plan a route looking for where controllers are. Not very often in the States, but trying to get into there a little bit more, which is a little bit difficult because it's all just a little bit different. But by the time I've planned a route and filed the flight plan and got going, the controllers are dropping off or changing. I just wondered, are there any plans to have some kind of indication as to how long a controller might be on, or some indication, because I might fly a different flight route if I knew the controller wasn't going to be on?
Yeah, both great questions. So let me address the first one there. So when you feeling, you don't remember your call sign even sometimes, right? And you're like, okay, the controller just gave me instructions and I didn't hear it, or it was too fast and it wasn't understandable. What do I do? And the honest question and the honest answer is you ask the controller to repeat or ask them to slow down. I can very quickly get into a very quick, fast-paced mode, especially working in a busy event. And I have had people, even it translates into the real world. My flight instructor has told me, he was like, "What did you just say?" It's like, I guarantee you ATC did not understand that over this moderate radio in this aircraft, okay? So don't be afraid to ask us to slow down or to repeat. Sometimes it's an inconvenience for us, right? You might get like, why didn't you listen the first time? You don't have to feel bad about that. That's a real world problem. It happened to me 2 weeks ago. I missed a radio switch when I was flying my little Cessna through Indianapolis International, and the controller got very mad at me. And I was like, I would much rather be safe and be doing the correct thing than assuming what you said, because I caught the end of it, but would we be real pilots and real safe? No. Repeat, take whatever on the chin and go on. You'll be safe and landing on the ground. So your second question was basically about like a controller schedule, is essentially, basically when will we be getting offline? I know tons of times your schedule and the controllers may not always line up, right? On VATSIM, it's a volunteer organization, and most of the time people will put in their little controller info, hey, I'm gonna be logging off at this time. Sometimes they get off earlier, sometimes they get off later, how are we doing that? We do have current plans in the work. We already have a network-wide controlling calendar that we're working on, and I can speak more specifically in the United States division that's something we're also working on, basically publishing, hey, Boston Center is going to be covered for these hours, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's not something that we necessarily have centralized at this current moment, but it's something I'm very, very excited to see come real soon. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Very basic question, I'm brand new. So on those maps, those airplane, are they actual real airplanes, or are they all sims, or both?
So the map was actually, let's say, anybody heard of FlightAware? Yeah, everyone tracks real world aircraft. That's SimAware, okay? So that is everything on the VATSIM network. So all of those planes that were displayed are simmers like ourselves sitting at home flying on the VATSIM network.
Okay, so is there a module that actually adds the FlightAware, the actual real-time airplanes to the system?
I believe so, but I don't have it, so I wouldn't probably be the best one to answer that question. But yeah, the way you connect to the network, though, is you'll download basically our software on our website, depending on which client you're using, Microsoft Flight Simulator, X-Plane, et cetera, and you'll run that application simultaneously while you're running your sim, and it will be pulling all the information out of your simulator, putting it onto the VATSIM network, and then vice versa. It pulls all the information off of our network through the client, puts it in your sim. So if you've never flown into like Atlanta where it's crazy busy, now you can, because it's actual real pilots sitting at home, not AI, with real controllers. So it's an awesome experience, honestly. Absolutely.
We have an online question.
Yes.
Al wanted to know, is there a way to jump on the network and just listen and not actually participate?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So there is observer mode where you can essentially log in as a pilot through your flight sim, and then you don't have to worry, you don't have to move, you're kind of hidden, right? You're not bothering anybody. You can get on and connect and hear ATC, hear other pilots. What are we doing? How are things going? Maybe you have a favorite airport you like to fly out of, and maybe you're going into a busy event and you're just not ready to fly. Connect as an observer. Listen to ATC, get a feel for it. Because you might even feel like you're ready halfway through the event to get on. Are there any other questions from online?
We did have one more question. Is there a specific location that you recommend a first-time VATSIMmer to potentially connect for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our members will feel the need to pop into the biggest aircraft possible at the biggest airports, which requires a lot of dedication and practice to master those larger aircraft. Personally, I like the old school way of starting out in a 172 and flying some VFR, but I understand that some of our members love to get into that IFR. So ultimately, what I would say, if you're looking for an adventurous first flight, that's something that's not gonna have your head underwater, pick some Class Charlies, maybe with an air traffic controller online that isn't too busy. Again, that map that we have on our website is live and up to date, so you're able to check on all the traffic on the network before you even connect. So you take the guesswork out of it and you say, well, this center right now doesn't have a lot of traffic, and that airport, those airports I want to fly into aren't too busy. That's a good opportunity and a good place to start. Yes, you got a question?
Yeah, one statement first before, when we first got started here with the seminar, you asked people that had never used the VATSIM at all, and there were a lot of hands that did go up. What we do, we're a member of a group and we fly at certain times together. We usually have about 8 to 10 guys and girls flying, and we look for newbies to come on board, you know, and basically what you're doing, we're talking together with each other, helping each other out, and we like to let the newbies listen to how we're talking, how VATSIM's talking to us, and just kind of get a feel for it. We're all together, we're all friends, they're not gonna bite your head off, okay? They are there to help you. When you do file your flight plan, if you file it
November, student pilot, the air traffic controller goes, I'll talk slower, I gotcha, right? We do the same. So that's a great resource. Second is, so how do you get staffing? How do you get air traffic controllers online when you have a group and you want to? We do have a event request page in the specific Arctics, so you can always fill that out and just give an accurate number. I've got about like 12, 14 people who are coming in. And even if we don't post it as an event or something like that, the events coordinators are typically able to post it into our division, like Discords and things like that, to all 80 controllers in Denver. Say, hey, these guys are flying in from Colorado Springs and they want to go down to Pueblo. They'd love ATC coverage. That's an easy way for people to get online. Also, if you're talking with an air traffic controller while you're flying on the network and you want to message them and be like, hey, I love when you control, or, I love the way you control, I enjoy having you on, can I have your Discord information for next time, so stuff like that. Yeah, okay, well, I think that is it for us. I appreciate everybody sticking around. We do have, again, the VATSIM booth is just right across the hall. If I did not answer your question or you want to come and see how controlling works, please come visit us at our booth. I hope everyone has a safe travels home from the FSExpo, and we look forward to seeing you wherever it is next year. Thank you.